Warm welcome. Is this audible? Yeah. All right. All right. So good morning, everyone. And it's such a pleasure to be here with all of you. And I take this opportunity first to thank GainSkills for inviting me for the discussion today. I'm really looking forward to the day to hear out to some of the panelists here, to the speakers here, and share and hear their thoughts. I think in the next 10-15 minutes, I'll be sharing my thoughts around the transformation of responsibilities of the CHRO in today's talent landscape. And when I talk or think about the role of the CHRO, the first thing which actually comes to my mind is how HR as a function has evolved over the period of time. I remember when there was something which was, the terminology of administrative or administration department was used, where the typical role was to take care of payroll and look after a few benefits of employees. From there on to the personnel department that the function was called, it further evolved to be called as human resource management, where the role actually expanded to partner and engage more with the employees. Over the last few years, we heard a lot about HR business partnership, where the role of HR further evolved into partnering with the business on driving talent agendas. And now HR plays a critical role as strategic leader, change enabler in the entire piece. So the way the entire function has evolved itself shows how adaptable, how agile we all have been over the last few years to really adjust and adapt to the changing talent trends and business dynamics. So with that, some of the thoughts that I have on the way the HR and the CHRO roles have evolved and have a critical role to play in today's world. I think driving business results is no longer something which lies only with the business. Today, the CHRO plays an equal role in driving business results through the people strategies. The way the CFO is expected to provide deeper insights looking at data analytics and talk about business growth, the CHROs today are also equally expected to talk about data analytics supporting talent strategy and business growth. There was a time when the HR did not have a table in the executive committee. Today, I'm sure all of you would agree that the CHROs have their presence and equal footing in a board or at an executive table committee of the organization. So the role has predominantly involved to provide deeper insights into business and human capital dynamics. The role is largely aligned to integrating the organizational priorities with that of the individual priorities. And not to say the anticipation and response to the external trends becomes very, very critical. We all have seen how COVID hit and the entire ways of working change. And soon after, in a couple of years, the COVID phase and the pandemic phase completely got dissolved, and there were definitely completely new ways of working. So keep on adjusting and, kind of providing solutions to the workforce to adjust to the new trends of working is something which the CHRO is continuously focusing on. The second piece, which I think is managing the dynamic talent landscape. Now, one very important concept here is that of employee value proposition. I think all of us would agree that the minute we look to hire talent externally and we place an offer to a talent, the first thing that the candidate would go and look at the feedback on social media, on Glassdoor, on what the exit employees have posted about the organization, and so on. So today, employee value proposition plays a very critical part in attracting talent. Not only it helps in attracting talent, positioning the brand, positioning your organization in front of the talent, in the campus, the MTs, the GTs, it's very, very critical. I think it is also important because it inculcates a sense of pride to the employees within the organization. So sharing stories of employees, which are success stories, growth stories, value stories, play a very critical role in the employee value proposition. And that is one area which CHROs today have a lot of focus on. Moving on, I think we all have been talking a lot about change management. Most of the organizations today are in midst of some or the other transformation. Either there is digital transformation, there is organizational restructuring, there is business acquisition, there is business expansion, and so on. Most organizations we see, and the HR teams of most organizations are actually struggling and managing this entire gamut of change. So the role of a HR is not just about change managers, but they have now taken up the role of change enablers. Managing the entire change agility. The CHROs, the HR teams, the HR partners play a very critical role to make their workforce ready to accept this change, enable this change, take this change with a positive outlook. I remember, most of the time when there is an organizational restructuring happens, even if it is done to ensure that the business alignments are done in the right way, the first thing which happens is there is a lot of employee talks. People talk about future, people talk about their roles, growth, what will happen, and so on. I think it becomes very, very critical for us as HR professionals to ensure that all those unsettling feelings are taken care of in the entire change management process, to ensure that we are able to do it in a very, very nice, smooth manner, to ensure that employee morale, productivity is not impacted in any way, and we continue to have an engaged workforce. I think anything which is talked about employee experience and well-being is less. A lot of organizations, in fact, most of the organizations today, have a very strong focus on the well-being of the employees. And this is one area which has emerged over the last few years as a key focus areas for all the HR professionals. And when we talk about well-being or employee experience, it's just not about birthday celebrations, festival celebrations, and get-together and team offsites. It's about truly investing in the employee well-being, taking care of his emotional health, taking care of his or her mental health, taking care of the overall stress that the person can be going through. Now, there could be multiple stressors for an individual. It's both personal and professional. But we as HR partners, what are we doing to ensure that we are able to provide a workplace, or we were able to provide opportunities to the employee to have some measure to counter that stress? I think that becomes very, very important. And there are umpteen number of initiatives which has been done, which a lot of organizations have been doing. I think if I ask for a call out that how many of you have EAPs in your organization, I'm sure most of you might have, right? Yeah. So I can see a lot of heads nodding. So this exactly shows how much the organization, the HR is investing. And when we launched EAP in our organization, we were very skeptical at Sterlite Power. We were thinking that, our people are based at project sites. They are people at manufacturing units. We'll have to see whether we will have takers of this or not. But when we looked at the last 1 year data, we were very surprised that we had a very, very good turnout of people really reaching out to these counselors through EAP. So which shows that people look for these opportunities and venues to really talk about or look at measures to reduce the stress that they face. So I think employee experience and overall well-being is extremely important and one of the focused areas for the HR professionals nowadays. And lastly, the digital transformation. I think the way AI and machine learning has hit us in the past few years, there has not been ever a time of revolution like this. And most of the HR professionals are now leveraging data analytics for workforce insights. So as I said, the idea is that now CHROs provide more deeper talent insights backed by data, backed by metrics, and backed by AI. Now employee experience, employee engagement, attrition predictability is backed by AI and digital transformation. So I think these are the few areas which I feel is extremely critical for our HR to focus on in the next few years down the line. Having said so, I wanted to share one interesting data with you, and I came across this data from Mercer, and this was a survey of last year of about 100 plus CHROs. And when they were asked the question of what do you see that, what's the role that is changing, about 79% of the people said that more strategic managing in the face of greater disruption. 60% agreed, in fact 60 and 54 is actually linked, because they said that increased use of technology and automation and greater dependence on predictive analytics. So that's a huge number. Focus on skill building across organizations, so capability building was also one of the important areas which 41% of our people said. Sorry. Yeah. One additional question in that survey, and it was very interesting, was when the CHROs were asked as what do you wish you had known when you were starting as a CHRO or Chief People Officer, about 41% said that greater depth in HR data analytics and insights was something which would have helped us. 40% said that greater depth in non-HR topics, for example, understanding of finance, understanding of operations, etc. And 39% said how to work with the board. I'm sure people sitting in this room, I'm not sure how many of us are actually trained or have undergone any kind of coaching or mentoring to be present and have a presentation in the board, or how to attend board meetings, how to put the thoughts across in the board meetings. We learn it through our practice, we learn it through experience. But I think those are the three. I don't know how many of you resonate with that? Yes? Yes, okay. So I think that was an interesting data I wanted to show. Quickly on the employee satisfaction and engagement. Can I have some water? So I think in the next 5-7 minutes, I would just take you through what at Sterlite Power we have been doing to ensure that we are aligning our HR strategy towards the changing dynamics, towards the talent trends of today. And this is the Gallup State of the Global Workforce report. I'm sure some of you have seen it. It says 33% employees are engaged at workplace, 46% employees are not engaged, and 21% are actively disengaged, right? Most of the organizations today take the Gallup Pulse as an annual survey as well, and you will have your organization's report. But what is alarming is this 46%, because they are the people who are sitting on the fence, and we do not know how to turn them around into an engaged workforce. And that's where the role of HR becomes very critical. So these are some of the things that we have done at Sterlite Power, and I'll take a couple of minutes to take you through that. So it starts with first impression. The day the candidate joins the organization, in fact, not also that, we've all been talking about start the touch point after the candidate accepts the offer. Start interacting, start establishing that connect, start, imbibing the person into the culture of the organization. And that is something which we have focused through the first impression, which is our new joiner onboarding program. The next focus for us has been tremendously on the capability building. And when I say capability building, it includes right from junior level staff to the leadership and the executive members. We have something which we call as the Sterlite Learning Academy. Now this academy basically integrates all our capability programs, interventions, and talent interventions that we do under the learning framework. For us, our businesses are expanded across infrastructure, manufacturing, and very recently now into renewable as well. So we have a workforce which is very diverse. And so to ensure that we are building capability right from project execution to project management to that of finance and regulatory and legal to that of manufacturing operations, quality, safety, etc., become very important. So as on date, we have a mandate learning hours of 10 hours per employee in the organization. Last year, I think we had a year-on-year increase by about 10 to 12% in the learning hours that people are investing in the organization. So I think that's the framework that we have run to ensure that our continued focus on capability building are there. We work through a framework of learning councils where we have taken people from the business into the capability intervention. And the business provides us input in terms of what is the capability gaps we are seeing and how we can bridge it through the 70-20-10 principles of the learning, right? Now, internal mobility and growth. One of the very important aspects for us was to ensure how do we provide internal growth to our people. And very proudly to say that in an organization like ours, which is a very pure play infrastructure company, 22% of our roles are through internal mobility, filled through internal mobility, which means employees have taken up these roles within the organizations. They have been groomed, coached to take up roles, provided opportunities to develop the roles, into the roles, and so on. And this happens also because we have a very strong framework of succession planning. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is something which is being talked about over the last few years. And this is, again, a very, very important focus areas for all of us in HR. Now, again, talking about typically an infrastructure, construction industry, we find comparatively, we find less number of female profiles available for roles which are in this segment. So it's always an effort for us to see how do we go ahead and get more and more people, get more and more gender diverse people in our organization. We are currently at around 12%, which is actually better than the industry average that we have. But we have done multiple initiatives around diversity. In fact, I don't know if Sonika is here, but Marching Sheep is one of our partners through that as well. So through sensitization workshops, creating resource groups for women, growing and mentoring women leaders through dedicated programs like Empower Her, and promoting a culture of inclusivity through sensitization workshops. These are some of the initiatives that is needed and focused through the diversity initiatives. Quickly again on the values and culture part, I think because we belong to the larger conglomerate of Vedanta, our organization is very strongly focused on its values and the culture. So through various channels of storytelling, we have continuously passed on this message of value stories to our employees. And we continue to build workshops and activities, workshops, etc., to ensure that we pass on this message for values and culture. I'm not sure how many of you have, today the succession planning is much talked about. Creating a talent pipeline, both internal and external, is becoming extremely important. So for us, building a strong pipeline of leaders has been a critical focus. We follow the 9-box methodology of assessing talent on performance and potential. And every year, we identify about 10 to 12% of our organizational strength in the top talent category. Now, when we identify top talent, we ensure that they are in the pipeline for critical roles in the organization. We provide them capability trainings, interventions needed, the right exposure on the job training needed to take up higher roles in the organization. I talked about already physical and mental well-being, and we have adopted a very holistic approach towards it. And in the interest of time, I'll go a little faster here. So gaining deeper insights, we partner with multiple consultants to gain insights into the factors that promote employee satisfaction and growth. Now, these are some of the things that we've done at Sterlite. But I wanted to quickly take a minute to talk about this, which we are very recently implemented. And we are very happy that, traditionally, we all have followed the annual pulse survey in our organizations, And annual pulse survey gives us the sentiments of the people once a year. We take that report, we read the report, and we go ahead and build our action plans based on that. But things have evolved, the way the talent has evolved, the way today's business dynamics have evolved. We cannot wait for one complete year to get a sense of what our people are feeling. So now what is introduced is an AI intuitive dashboard. Now this is something which is based on the concept of moments that matter. This is an AI intuitive tool which will actually reach out to a set of people at any point in time and will get responses, feedbacks from the people. It's very, very important to help, make a very focused outreach to our people, to the employees. It helps to give us sentiment analysis. How is the person feeling on the day? Or if I do it, for example, for my batch of, say, new joiners, how is the batch or how is the people feeling on the 60th day from the date of joining? So it gives us, we can set important milestones, we can set important moments in this and get a sentiment analysis. It gives early attrition risks, which is extremely important. Most of us follow a predictive attrition model. So how do we, it gives us the data to understand which are our attrition risks and how do we countermeasure those effects, This is like a dashboard which will come out, and this is something which we get out of this AI intuitive tool. So we get to know, I don't know how much of it is visible, but it basically talks about how is the mood, what are the attrition risks, what are the flag-offs that we have here. And each manager gets this report. Each manager is able to get the report, sees which are the attrition risks, sees how the team is feeling. And so there is a constant everyday process to ensure that there is more and more engagement with the team, with the people at large. So this is how the entire process of employee engagement has actually evolved over a period of time. And quickly, the last bit that I'm about on closure is that even when we talk about the changing landscapes of talent and the evolving role of CHRO, the performance management system, as we've been seeing it over the period of time, has also evolved. And it has evolved tremendously. We have heard many organizations like Accenture has, in fact, given away our entire performance process. So what we have done is we believe in agile goals. And today, the business changes every other day. So we cannot have goals for our employees fixed up at once a year and ask them to follow it throughout the year. We need to have more real-time, realistic approach to reviewing goals. Have more frequent check-ins. It could be once a quarter, it could be once in 6 months. Team-based performance, OKRs are something which are evaluated and get more buy-in from the employees. Managers play the role of coaches, so just by being, instead of playing the role of only doing feedback discussions, they actually take the role of coaches and kind of provide the right coaching and mentoring to the employees. And finally, it's an employee-centric performance management. So that's about it. I just wanted to cover quickly on what we are doing. And thank you.